Hello everyone, welcome back to Believer Science Academy Bengaluru. This is the Daily News Analysis. Today we will discuss important articles UPSC from UPSC prelims, mains and interview perspective. So the first article for 17th October 2025 is from the front page of the Hindu, which discusses the Trump-Modi discourse over Russian oil imports. What is the context? The context is US President Donald Trump claimed that PM Modi has promised to stop importing oil from Russia soon. We all know Trump. He loves to boast about himself. So in the recent interview and in the post in Twitter, he said that I have requested Prime Minister Modi to stop importing from Russia and Prime Minister Modi has agreed to do so. That is the point of context. The opposition parties feel that this is coming as a sign of weakness from the Indian side. Whereas the ruling party says that nothing of that sort has been said by the Prime Minister Modi. However, India's Ministry of External Affairs denied that such a conversation never had taken place. Next, the core disagreement is Trump's claim that India assured the US it would phase out Russia's oil imports soon, and MEA's response is denied any discussion on oil in the recent Modi-Trump talks, and reiterated that India's policy is to diversify and be broad-based energy sources to meet the market needs. So it is nothing but Ministry of External Affairs calling Trump a liar. So India's official line is energy security and consumer interest come first. Okay. Next, the background is Russia became a major oil source for India post-Ukraine war due to discounted prices. So, of all the imports from Russia, India accounts for almost 38%, with China accounting for 50%. So, this 38% is contributed by India alone. So, however, US tariffs and sanctions have complicated India's oil trade. That is, reports show Indian public sector oil firms have reduced Russian imports by 40% between the June and September, though Russia remains India's top supplier. And the diplomatic friction is Trump's remarks embarrassed the Indian government, suggesting that it had yielded to US pressure. The MEA's careful language reflects India's strategic balancing, maintaining ties with both Washington and Moscow. Trade negotiations between India and the US are reportedly stuck partly over the oil issue. Okay, so this is what Trump is trying to do. Trump is trying to portray himself as a dominant voice in all the trade talks and is trying to subdue all the other leaders, be it Prime Minister Narendra Modi, be it Canada, be it UK, everyone. Okay, next, broader reactions were China defended its right to buy Russian oil, accusing the US of unilateral bullying. So China also called USA a bully and also recently urged India not to heed to this bully because bullies need to be addressed in their own languages. Okay. Next, MEA criticized the UK sanctions on the Nayara Energy, that is Rosneft-owned refinery in India, rejecting double standards in energy trade. Okay. All these European Union countries are still importing natural gas from Russia. They have no problem importing natural gas from Russia, but they only have problem when the other countries import oil from Russia. They say that we are donating the blood money to Russia to feed this war against Ukraine. But what they are doing is essentially the same because they are also importing natural gas from Russia. Obviously, they are also paying Russia, so which Russia is using it to fuel its war against Ukraine. But they have double standards. That is what UK and European Union and even USA is doing. Next, second point is about execution of Nimisha Priya in Yemen stalled. Center informed Supreme Court. What is this? Nimisha Priya is a nurse who is from Kerala and who was residing in Yemen, where she was extorted sexually and physically and abused physically by a Yemeni national. As a result, she wanted to escape from his clutches, so she killed him. According to Yemeni laws, she was to be tried under Yemeni rules. According to that, she was given death sentence. But there is also an alternative recourse in Yemen or Sharia laws, that is blood money or diya, where you can pay monetary compensation to escape out of these offences or escape out of this punishment. So that is what the issue was. Now let us discuss. Supreme Court of India was informed that the execution of Nimisha Priya, Indian nurse sentenced to death in Yemen, has been stalled due to ongoing diplomatic and mediation efforts. Nimisha Priya, a nurse from Palakkad, Kerala, was convicted in 2020 for the murder of Yemeni national who was her business partner. And the current legal status is the Attorney General R. Venkatamachari or Venkatamani representing the center, stated before a bench of Justice Vikram Nath and Sandeep Mehta that nothing adverse is happening in the case. A new mediator has stepped in to continue negotiations with the victim family, and Supreme Court agreed to keep the matter pending and listed it in January 2026, allowing urgent hearings if new developments arises. So, diplomatic and mediation efforts. Execution initially was scheduled in July 16, 2025 was postponed following a diplomatic intervention from the government of India. Mediation efforts from Kantapuram AP Abu Bakr Musliyar, who respected Islamic scholar from Kerala. Next, an international action council has been providing legal and humanitarian assistance to Namshapriya as well. So what is this blood money option or diya? Under the Sharia law, victim family may pardon the accused in return for blood money. Okay. Next, the petitioner counsel suggested this as a possible route to secure Miss Priya's release if the victim family agrees. Okay, only the victim family has to agree. That is a precondition. If they agree for this monetary compensation, then she will not be tried or she will not be tried for death penalty. And the humanitarian dimension is Miss Priya's 12-year-old daughter lives in a convent in India. Her mother works as a domestic helper and her husband is an auto rickshaw driver, highlighting the family's financial and emotional hardship. And the legal and diplomatic implications reflects the complexity of consular protections and human rights diplomacy in death penalty cases involving Indians abroad. Balances India's diplomatic limitations as MN is in conflict zone with humanitarian and legal efforts to save a citizen. This also highlights the role of civil society and religious diplomacy in conflict resolution. Okay, so very important. I've already covered this topic very detailedly. You can just go back and check about DR blood money under the name of Vinayak sir. Okay, next, third article is about again a food issue. Recently I discussed about World Health Organization and the cold drink which contained toxic materials. Similarly, there is one more issue, that is FSSAI bans misuse of ORL label. It says that only WHO approved formula are allowed. What is the issue? The Food Safety and Security or Standards Authority of India, that is FSSAI, has barred all the food companies from using the term oral rehydration salts on their products unless the formulation strictly adheres to WHO standards. Okay, so what is this move? This move follows a decade-long campaign by Hyderabad-based pediatrician, that is Dr. Sivaranjani Santosh, who exposed deceptive marketing of sugary drinks as ORS. So what is ORS? ORS is oral hydration, rehydration salts, which was found out by a Bangladeshi national in the Bangladeshi famine, and it was very useful in dealing with famine and hunger. And later this ORS was started being misused by these sugary drink or carbonated drink companies, where they contain sugar but on their label they used to showcase itself as ORS. Now the FSSAI said that you can only advertise your drinks as ORS if it is containing the components which is according to WHO standards. If there is anything extra or if there is anything less, then you cannot use this ORS schedule or ORS as your advertising. Okay, next, what is the new order say? The no brand can use ORS or oral rehydration salts in its name label unless WHO composition standards are met. So earlier permission was withdrawn, that is in July 14, 2022 and February 2, 2024 added allowed ORS in trademarks with certain disclaimers, that is ORS with the sugar drink, something like that. These permissions are now rescinded. Next, applies to fruit-based, non-carbonated or ready-to-drink products misusing the ORS tag. Why the ban was needed? Many beverages were labeled as ORS or energy drinks with misleading claims. Such drinks often contain high sugar content and failed to meet WHO's therapeutic electrolyte sugar ratio. Misleading labeling obviously endangered children's health by substituting real medical ORS with sugary beverages. Next, what is the legal basis? This particular act violations under the Food Safety and Security Standards Act of 2006 for false or deceptive labeling, misleading name declarations and breach of consumer protection standards. Next, Fasai termed such labeling as false, deceptive, ambiguous, and erroneous. Okay. Next, citizen action impact, that is Dr. Sanjeevani or sorry Sivaranjani Santosh's campaign, which was almost for a decade old, was very pivotal, and advocacy led to judicial scrutiny and regulatory tightening. So broader significance is marks a major step in consumer protection and public health regulation in India, prevents corporate misuse of medical terms for profit, and reinforces trust in public health labeling and WHO aligned medical standard. Okay, very important, small but very important article. Next, an editorial from the Hindu which talks about a reading of revisionism in constitutional history. What is this? To discuss with the context. This was written by Dr. Sanjay Hegde, who is a senior advocate in Supreme Court of India. What is this article about? That is, the revisionist narrative has emerged, claiming that Sir Benegal Narsingh Rao, the constitutional advisor, was the real architect of the Indian Constitution, while B.R. Ambedkar, the chairman of drafting committee, merely polished Rao's draft. Okay, so the claim that India's constitutional architect or the father of India's constitution is often entitled or title is given to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, but recently there was a recourse that it is not actually Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, but it was Sir Benegal Narsingh Rao. He has to be given the title of architect of constitution. So the author argues that this reinterpretation is not mere academic debate, but an attempt to erase Dalit agency and diminish Ambedkar's moral centrality in India's funding or India's founding. So maybe some people see this from the history, some people see this from the social aspects. So this author sees this not to mere academic debate, but also an attempt to erase Dalit influence on Indian history. So what is this? Complementary and not competing roles. What was the role of B.N.R. Rao and B.R. Ambedkar? For Sir B.N. Rao, he was a constitutional advisor in July 1946, and B.R. Ambedkar was the chairman of drafting committee, and B.N. Rao drafted a technical rough draft of 243 articles and 13 schedules, and B.R. Ambedkar transformed it into a political covenant through debate and consensus. B.N. Rao worked outside the assembly, had no representative mandate, and B.R. Ambedkar defended every clause within the assembly during the partition and Gandhi's assassination. B.N. Rao laid the structural groundwork, and B.R. Ambedkar infused the constitution with justice, equality, and moral vision. So Ambedkar's acknowledgement is he credited Rao for the role, a rough draft, and S.N. Mukherjee for legal drafting, proving he never denied the roles but led the moral and political transformation of the text. So original draft was done by B.N. Rao, but it was constitutionally or debated thoroughly by B.R. Ambedkar. So they had both complementary roles but not competitive roles. Next, the political motive behind the revisionism. The new narrative reflects a discomfort with Ambedkar's Dalit identity and his radical challenge to caste privilege. By elevating Rao and sidelining Ambedkar, revisionists sanitize the constitution, that is, turning a social revolution into a bureaucratic exercise. This revisionism aims to strip the constitution of its moral and egalitarian essence. So Ambedkar's inclusion and Gandhi's role in constitution is that after the partition, Ambedkar lost his Bengal seat despite past clashes. Mahatma Gandhi insisted that Ambedkar must be in the Constituent Assembly. Gandhi's foresight prevented the alienation of Dalits during the fragile nation building phase. Ambedkar's eventual leadership transformed the drafting process into moral project of inclusion. So despite losing his seat in Bengal, Gandhiji made sure that Ambedkar remained part of the Constituent Assembly. So what is the Ambedkar's enduring legacy here? He infused fundamental rights, directive principles, and affirmative action with a deep ethical meaning. His warning endures as the Republic's moral compass. That is, political democracy cannot exist or last unless there lies at the base of it a social democracy. Okay, so he says that social democracy is a prerequisite for a political democracy. Next, Ambedkar linked justice, equality, and fraternity as inseparable values, a framework still relevant to India's democratic challenges. Next, guarding the Republic's memory. Recasting Rao as the Constitution's father is part of a larger ideological project to erase the Constitution's radical social roots. Constitution was born not in bureaucratic calm, but amid partition, assassination, and oppression. So Rao was a constitutional engineer, but Ambedkar remains its architect and moral founder. So that is the idea behind this particular article. So we should not revision or bring revisionism into constitution, and we have to hold the role played by both BN Rao and Ambedkar together. Okay. Next, from prelims pointers, first is the Akash missile system. Why it is in news? News because India is learned to have pitched for the supply of Akash missile system to Brazil, as a defense minister recently held wide-ranging talks with Brazilian Vice President Geraldo Alckmin in New Delhi about Akash missile system. It is a short-range surface-to-air missile, that is SAM missile system, designated or designed to protect vulnerable areas, points, and assets from a range of aerial threats, including fighter aircraft, cruise missile, drones, and helicopters. It was indigenously designed and developed by India's DRDO and is produced by Hyderabad-based Bharat Dynamics Limited. Next, it is currently in service with the Indian Air Force and the Indian Army as well. The features a launcher, a missile, and a control center, and an integral mission guidance system, a multifunctional fire control radar, a system arming and explosion mechanism, which is a digital autopilot C4I, that is command, control, communication, and intelligence centers, and supporting road equipment. So it can simultaneously engage multiple targets in group mode or autonomous mode as well. Missile is 5.87 meters long, 350 millimeters in diameter, and weighs 710 kilometers. It features a solid fuel ramjet propulsion system capable of reaching the speeds of Mach 2.5 to 3.5, which is approximately up to 4,200 square kilometers. Sorry, not square kilometers, kilometers per hour. The range is 4.5 kilometers to 25 kilometers. So short air to surface to air missile. Can engage aerial threats by flying between 100 meters and 20 kilometers in altitude. It is a fully mobile system, effective in engaging multiple targets simultaneously with a kill probability of up to 99% with salvo of 2 missiles. So it also has sophisticated Rajendra radar, can track numerous targets and guide multiple missiles concurrently. It is fully automatic and features built-in electronic countermeasures and is mobile across different terrains. So this is Akash missile, very important. Not necessary to remember all those things, just remember it is a cruise missile, surface to air missile. Silent Valley National Park, why is the news? It is in news because 6 new species of dragonflies and damselflies were found in Silent Valley National Park during an ordonate survey held recently. About Silent Valley National Park, it is a stretch of pristine wet evergreen forest located along the southwest corner of the Nilgiris in the South India and in the present in the state of Kerala. It is one of the last undisturbed tracts of tropical rainforest in India. It constitutes the centerpiece of Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, sanctified as World Heritage Site by UNESCO 2012. It is nourished by the Kuntipuza River, which meanders through the dense forest. The valley is said to be silent because of the absence of cicadas, a type of insect that produces loud buzzing noise. Cicadas, okay. And then vegetation is, it has 4 types of vegetation: west coast tropical evergreen forest, southern subtropical broad-leaved hill forest, mountain wet temperate forest, grasslands, etc. etc. So the park's dense forest, riverine ecosystems, and high altitude grasslands provide a habitat for variety of species, many of which are endemic to Western Ghats. So the flora here is consists of 1,000 species of flowering plants, 107 species of orchids, and 100 ferns and fern allies, and 200 liverworts, and 75 lichens, and 200 algae. And plants of high medicinal value as well as towering Scalenia tree are also found here. And in fauna, famous for its population of lion-tailed macaques, endangered primate species, and is endemic to Western Ghats. And other notable mammals include Nilgiri langur, Malabar giant squirrel, India's elephant, Indian elephant, tiger, leopard, gaur, etc. etc. Park is also home to over 200 species of birds, including the great Indian hornbill, Nilgiri wood pigeon, and several species of eagles and wolves. So very important national park which is present in Kerala, which is part of Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve as well. Okay. So these are the articles which I want to discuss with you today. If you like the video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share with your friends. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.